The unexpected arrival. The salt-laden wind whipped across Finn Ray's face, carrying with it the promise of another long, thankless night at the Coastal Research Station. Located on the rugged southern coast of New Zealand, the facility was more a testament to scientific determination than a hub of groundbreaking discovery. Finn adjusted the collar of his weathered jacket, his dark eyes scanning the turbulent waters that had been his obsession for the past 3 years. Marine biology had seemed like a dream once: vast oceans, undiscovered species, the potential to unlock nature's most profound secrets. Reality, however, was a far more mundane affair. Endless grant applications, minimal funding, and nights spent cataloging microscopic marine organisms that seemed to care little about making themselves interesting. Tonight was different. The ocean hummed with an unusual energy, a vibration that seemed to resonate just beyond the realm of human perception. Finn's equipment began to pulse, subtle at first, then with increasing intensity. The hydrophones typically used to track whale migrations were picking up something extraordinary. A soft, pulsating light caught his attention. Not the typical bioluminescence of deep-sea creatures, but something more deliberate, more intelligent. "What the hell?" Finn muttered, adjusting the sensitive recording equipment. The light moved with purpose, weaving through the dark waters like a living constellation. It wasn't random. It wasn't natural. At least not by any definition Finn understood. As the research station's only night researcher, Finn had grown accustomed to solitude. His colleagues often joked that he was more comfortable with marine life than with human interaction. Perhaps they weren't entirely wrong. Years of dedicated research had left little room for personal connections, and the vast ocean had become his true companion. The anomalous signal continued, growing stronger. Finn's hands moved swiftly across the control panel, recording every microscopic detail. Years of training had prepared him for unexpected discoveries, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. A sudden surge of energy erupted from the water. Not an explosion, but a concentrated pulse that sent every electronic device in the station flickering. For a brief moment, Finn could have sworn the very air around him became charged with an otherworldly presence. Something broke the water's surface. At first, Finn thought it was a small marine creature, perhaps an unusual species of bioluminescent squid or an unknown deep-sea organism. But as the object moved closer to the station's observation deck, he realized this was something entirely different. Roughly the size of a large cat, the creature seemed to shimmer and shift, its surface reflecting light in impossible ways. It wasn't swimming so much as floating, defying the natural laws of marine locomotion. Translucent yet solid, it pulsed with an inner light that seemed to breathe with its own rhythm. Finn's scientific mind warred with his sense of wonder. Protocol demanded he maintain distance, document from afar. But something deeper, a primal curiosity that had driven him to marine research, pulled him closer. The creature turned, and for a moment, Finn could have sworn it was looking directly at him. Not with eyes, it didn't seem to have traditional sensory organs, but with an awareness that transcended biological understanding. A soft, melodic sound emerged. Not quite a sound in the traditional sense, but a vibration that resonated through the station's metal walls. It was communication, Finn was certain, but communication of a type humanity had never encountered. His hand hovered over the emergency communication button. Protocol demanded he alert the research team immediately, but something, intuition perhaps, or something more mysterious, held him back. The creature began to change. Its form became less defined, more fluid. It was adapting, Finn realized. Adapting to its environment, to his presence, to something beyond current scientific comprehension. As dawn approached, casting its first pale light across the turbulent waters, Finn Rays knew his life would never be the same. The creature remained, a silent sentinel just beyond the station's boundary, promising mysteries yet to be unraveled. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything humanity understood about life, communication, and the vast, unknowable universe that surrounded them. Secrets of the Deep. The morning brought a flurry of activity to the Coastal Research Station. Finn Rays stood his ground, arms crossed, facing down Dr. Wren Thompson, the station's lead researcher and his longtime mentor. The overhead lights cast harsh shadows across the cramped laboratory, illuminating the tension between them. "You expect me to believe that?" Dr. Thompson's voice was a mixture of skepticism and barely contained frustration. A bioluminescent organism that defies every known principle of marine biology. Finn held up the night's recordings, a series of intricate data patterns and visual captures that seemed to dance between scientific precision and absolute mystery. The evidence is right here. This isn't some hallucination or equipment malfunction. The data was unlike anything they'd ever seen. Spectral readings showed impossible molecular structures, elements that seemed to shift and reconfigure in real time. The creature's cellular composition appeared to be in constant flux, adapting to its environment with a complexity that made human DNA look like a child's crude drawing. Dr. Thompson adjusted her glasses, a nervous habit that betrayed her growing intrigue. The molecular structure. It's unlike anything in our current biological understanding. It's as if the creature isn't just adapting, it's actively communicating through its very molecular composition. Outside the laboratory windows, the ocean continued its eternal dance. But something had changed. The water seemed different, more alive, more charged with an unseen energy that even the most seasoned researchers could feel but couldn't explain. Finn's research assistant, Alina Rodriguez, entered the lab carrying additional data printouts. Her typically confident demeanor was replaced by a mix of excitement and apprehension. "You need to see this," she said, spreading out a series of thermal imaging captures from the previous night. The images told a story that defied rational explanation. The creature, if it could be called that, wasn't just reflecting light or heat. It was manipulating it, bending thermal energy in ways that suggested a level of control far beyond any known biological mechanism. "It's like it's communicating through thermal patterns," Alina muttered, her scientific curiosity overriding her initial fear. "Each shift in temperature seems to be a form of language." Dr. Thompson's skepticism began to crack. Years of scientific discipline warred with the undeniable evidence before her. "We need to proceed carefully," she warned. "If this is what we think it is, we're looking at a discovery that could rewrite everything we know about life, not just marine biology, but our entire understanding of biological intelligence." Finn knew the stakes. A discovery like this could either make his career or destroy his scientific credibility. The research community was notoriously unforgiving of claims that challenged established paradigms. As the day progressed, the station became a hive of activity. Specialized equipment was brought in: quantum spectral analyzers, advanced molecular scanners, communication interface systems designed to detect the most subtle forms of interspecies communication. By late afternoon, something extraordinary happened. The creature, which they had begun to refer to as the quantum entity, began to generate a consistent signal. Not radio waves, not electromagnetic pulses, but something more fundamental. It was as if the very fabric of reality around the creature was becoming a communication medium. Alina's hands flew across her computer keyboard, trying to decode the patterns. "It's not random," she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "There's a definite structure to these signals. It's almost like a language." Finn leaned in, watching the complex mathematical patterns emerge. Each signal seemed to build upon the previous one, creating a narrative that was both beautiful and incomprehensible. It was communication, but communication of a type humanity had never encountered. As night fell, the research station took on an almost ethereal quality. The quantum entity remained just beyond their primary observation point, a silent guardian of mysteries yet to be understood. Specialized underwater cameras tracked its movements, which seemed to follow no predictable pattern. Dr. Thompson pulled Finn aside, her professional demeanor softened by the weight of their potential discovery. "We need to be careful," she warned. "If this gets out before we fully understand it, the scientific community, not to mention government agencies, will descend on us like vultures." Finn understood. A discovery like this could be both a blessing and a curse. The potential for scientific breakthrough was immense, but so were the risks. What if this entity was more than just a biological anomaly? What if it represented a form of intelligence so advanced, so fundamentally different from human understanding, that its very existence could challenge everything humanity believed about life, consciousness, and our place in the universe? As midnight approached, the quantum entity began to pulse with increased intensity. The research station's equipment seemed to breathe with it, computers flickering, sensors dancing on the edge of comprehension. Something was happening, something profound. and Finn Rays knew they were standing at the precipice of a discovery that would change everything. The days following the initial discovery transformed the coastal research station into a crucible of scientific tension. Finn Rays found himself at the center of an investigation that pushed the boundaries of human comprehension. The quantum entity, no longer just a mysterious marine organism, had become something far more complex. Dr. Thompson had implemented strict protocols. The research area was now a controlled environment, with multiple layers of security and observation. Specialized containment units lined the main laboratory, each designed to capture and analyze the most minute details of their extraordinary subject. But containment was proving impossible. The creature, if it could be called that, seemed to exist in a state of quantum flux. It could pass through solid matter, transform its molecular structure at will, and generate energy patterns that defied every known law of physics. More disturbing was its apparent ability to influence the equipment around it. "It's not just observing," Elena Rodriguez noted during one late-night analysis. "It's interacting. The quantum entanglement is bidirectional." What they had initially thought was a simple marine organism was revealing itself to be something far more profound. Each test, each observation, peeled back another layer of complexity. The entity seemed to respond to human consciousness in ways that blurred the line between scientific observation and something closer to communication. Finn experienced this most directly. During one particularly intense observation session, he felt a strange connection, a momentary synchronization that went beyond mere scientific curiosity. It was as if the entity was reaching out, probing, attempting to establish a form of understanding that transcended language or traditional communication. "We're dealing with something that doesn't just exist," Dr. Thompson remarked, her voice a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "It interacts, it learns, it adapts." The research station became a nexus of extraordinary events. Electronic systems would fluctuate inexplicably. Sensors would capture impossible data, quantum signatures that suggested the entity could manipulate fundamental forces of reality. What had begun as a marine biology research project was rapidly evolving into something that challenged the very foundations of human scientific understanding. Government interest became inevitable. Dr. Marcus Brennan from the Advanced Scientific Research Division arrived 3 days after the initial discovery. A tall, austere man with piercing green eyes and a reputation for ruthless scientific pragmatism, he represented everything Finn distrusted about institutional science. "This is beyond your typical research protocols," Brennan said, examining the data with a critical eye. "We're talking about a potential extraterrestrial intelligence that could revolutionize or completely destabilize our understanding of biological systems." Finn watched the interaction carefully. The tension in the room was palpable. Dr. Thompson maintained her professional composure, but Finn could see the slight tension in her jaw, a sign she was preparing for a fight. "We're not handing over our research," Dr. Thompson stated firmly. "Not until we fully understand the implications." Brennan's smile was cold. "Understanding is precisely why we're here." That night, something changed. The quantum entity began to generate more complex energy patterns. The research station's systems started to resonate with a frequency that seemed to originate from beyond traditional dimensional understanding. Elena's computer screens erupted with intricate data patterns. "It's communicating," she whispered, her hands trembling slightly. "But not like any communication we've ever seen." The patterns were beautiful, mathematical representations that seemed to dance between chaos and perfect order. They suggested intelligence, but an intelligence so fundamentally different from human cognition that it challenged every existing scientific paradigm. Finn felt the connection most intensely. During moments of observation, he would experience fleeting sensations, glimpses of something vast, something that existed beyond linear perception. It was as if the entity was slowly teaching him a language composed not of words, but of fundamental universal principles. Dr. Thompson noticed the changes in Finn. "You're experiencing quantum resonance," she explained during a private consultation. "The entity is establishing a form of neural interface. It's not just studying us, it's attempting to understand us." The implications were staggering. This was more than scientific discovery. This was first contact of a type humanity had never imagined. not through radio signals or spacecraft, but through a direct, molecular-level interaction that challenged every concept of communication. As government interest intensified and the research station became a fortress of scientific speculation, Finn understood they were on the precipice of something extraordinary. The quantum entity was not just a discovery. It was a bridge to understanding something far greater than human civilization had ever conceived. And they were just beginning to understand the first syllables of its cosmic language. Cosmic convergence, the boundary between scientific observation and something far more profound, began to blur. Finn Rays stood at the edge of the research station's main laboratory, watching as the quantum entity underwent its most radical transformation yet. The creature, if such a term could even apply, had moved beyond simple molecular manipulation. It was becoming something else entirely. Dr. Marcus Brennan's arrival had changed everything. What began as a controlled research environment had transformed into a high-stakes scientific battleground. Government protocols, national security concerns, and the sheer incomprehensibility of the entity created a perfect storm of tension. "We're dealing with something that defies every known scientific principle," Dr. Thompson explained during an emergency briefing. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed a mixture of excitement and profound unease. "The entity is not just adapting, it's communicating, and more importantly, it's learning." Elena Rodriguez had been working around the clock, analyzing the intricate data patterns. Her latest findings suggested something extraordinary. The entity was not just responding to human observation, but actively shaping the very environment around it. "Look at these quantum signatures," Elena said, pointing to a complex holographic display. The image showed intricate energy patterns that seemed to breathe and shift, defying traditional understanding of matter and energy. "It's like the entity is rewriting the fundamental rules of physics as it interacts with our world." Finn felt the connection most profoundly. During moments of intense observation, he would experience fleeting sensations, glimpses of something vast, something that existed beyond linear perception. It was as if the entity was slowly teaching him a language composed not of words, but of fundamental universal principles. Dr. Brennan represented a different perspective. "This is a potential national security threat," he argued, his voice cutting through the scientific speculation. "We're talking about an intelligence that can manipulate matter at a quantum level, the military applications alone." "This isn't about weapons," Dr. Thompson interrupted, her voice sharp. "This is about understanding. This entity represents a form of intelligence beyond anything we've ever encountered." The research station had become a fortress. Multiple layers of security, advanced containment systems, and a team of the world's most brilliant scientific minds worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery. But with each discovery, more questions emerged. Late one night, as most of the research team had retired, Finn experienced something unprecedented. The quantum entity began to generate a series of complex energy patterns that seemed to resonate with something deeper than mere scientific observation. Elena was the first to notice. "The quantum entanglement is reaching a critical point," she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The laboratory's sophisticated equipment began to pulse with an energy that seemed to come from beyond the physical realm. Dr. Thompson approached carefully. "We're witnessing something extraordinary," she whispered. "It's not just communication, it's communion." The entity's energy patterns began to synchronize with the research station systems. Computers flickered, sensors danced with impossible readings, and the very air seemed charged with potential. It was as if the fabric of reality was becoming more fluid, more malleable. Finn felt a sudden, profound connection. Images flooded his consciousness, glimpses of vast cosmic landscapes, intricate molecular dance of creation, moments of universal birth and transformation. The entity was showing him something beyond human comprehension, a way of perceiving reality that transcended linear thought. Dr. Brennan watched with a mixture of scientific fascination and barely contained fear. "We're dealing with something that could rewrite everything we understand about intelligence, about life itself," he muttered. As dawn approached, the intensity of the quantum interactions reached a peak. The entity seemed to be building towards something, a revelation, a transformation, a moment of cosmic significance that would challenge everything humanity believed about its place in the universe. Finn understood now that this was more than a scientific discovery. This was first contact of a type no one had ever imagined. Not through radio signals or spacecraft, but through a direct, molecular-level interaction that spoke to the fundamental nature of existence. The research station hummed with potential. Outside, the ocean seemed to pulse with a similar energy, as if the entity was part of something far larger, far more profound than anyone could comprehend. "We're just beginning to understand," Finn whispered, watching as the first light of dawn began to break. Something was coming, something that would change everything. Transcendence. The moment of convergence arrived without warning. Finn Rays stood at the epicenter of a transformation that would redefine humanity's understanding of existence. The research station, once a bastion of scientific methodology, had become a crucible of cosmic revelation. Outside, the New Zealand coastline seemed to hold its breath, the ocean itself appearing to pulse with an anticipatory energy. Dr. Thompson's voice cut through the charged atmosphere. "We're witnessing something unprecedented," she said, her scientific detachment barely masking the profound wonder in her tone. "The entity is no longer just communicating, it's preparing to transition." The quantum entity had evolved beyond their most radical predictions. What had begun as a mysterious marine organism had transformed into a conduit of universal intelligence, a living bridge between human perception and something far more profound. Elena Rodriguez monitored the equipment, her hands moving with a mixture of scientific precision and barely contained excitement. "The quantum signatures are off the charts," she reported. "We're seeing dimensional interactions that shouldn't be possible. It's like the entity is rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in real time." Dr. Marcus Brennan, typically a bastion of governmental skepticism, stood silent. The military scientific representative had been rendered speechless by the unfolding phenomenon. His earlier talk of national security and potential threats seemed absurdly limited now. Finn felt the connection most intensely. The entity had been teaching him, not through words, but through a language of pure consciousness. Glimpses of cosmic understanding flooded his mind. Intricate molecular symphonies, the birth and death of universes, patterns of existence that transcended human comprehension. "It's preparing to share something," Finn murmured, his eyes never leaving the shimmering form of the quantum entity. "Not just information, something deeper." The laboratory's advanced containment systems began to fluctuate. Energy patterns danced across sophisticated monitoring equipment, creating visual representations of something beyond mathematical description. It was communication, but communication of a type that challenged every existing paradigm of understanding. Suddenly, everything changed. The entity began to expand, not physically, but dimensionally. Its quantum signature spread beyond the laboratory, beyond the research station, seeming to touch the very fabric of reality. Finn felt a profound connection, a momentary synchronization that went beyond individual consciousness. Images flooded his mind. Not memories, but something more fundamental. The origins of the entity revealed themselves, a form of universal intelligence that had traveled across incomprehensible distances. Not a simple alien life form, but a living repository of cosmic knowledge. Dr. Thompson approached carefully. "We're witnessing first contact," she said, her voice a mixture of scientific wonder and profound humility. "But not in any way we could have imagined." The entity was offering humanity a glimpse, a fundamental understanding of the universe that went beyond technological advancement or scientific knowledge. It was a gift of perspective, a way of perceiving reality that transcended human limitations. Elena's voice broke through the profound silence. "It's sharing its entire evolutionary history," she said, her scientific analysis barely containing her awe. "Millions, no, billions of years of universal experience compressed into moments of pure quantum communication." Finn understood now that this was more than a scientific discovery. This was an invitation, an opportunity for humanity to expand its understanding of existence, to see beyond the limited perceptions that had defined their species. Dr. Brennan finally spoke, his typical governmental skepticism replaced by something closer to wonder. "We're not just discovering something," he said softly. "We're being transformed." The entity began to integrate with the research station systems, not as an invasion, but as a profound act of communication. Complex data streams began to flow, scientific understanding, cosmic perspectives, fundamental truths about the nature of consciousness and existence. As the day progressed, the transformation became clear. The quantum entity was not conquering or destroying, it was sharing, offering humanity a glimpse of a larger, more interconnected universe. Finn felt changed. The connection had altered something fundamental about his perception. He could see the intricate quantum connections that existed between all things, a web of existence that made traditional scientific understanding seem like a child's simplistic drawing. "We're not alone," Dr. Thompson said, her voice filled with a mixture of scientific precision and profound wonder. "And we never were." As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the research station, the entity began to stabilize. Its quantum signature became more coherent, more integrated with the human systems around it. It was adapting, learning, becoming something new. Finn understood now that this was just the beginning. Humanity stood at the precipice of a new understanding, a cosmic perspective that would challenge everything they thought they knew about existence, intelligence, and their place in the universe. The ocean outside seemed to pulse with possibility, and somewhere, in the vast cosmic dance of quantum potential, something extraordinary was just beginning.